Welcome to this episode of our Python tutorial series, where we will be exploring Lambda functions in Python. Lambda functions are a way to create a small anonymous function in Python. They can be used to quickly create small functions without needing to define a named function. In this episode, we'll explore how to create and use Lambda functions in Python. Let us start by creating a simple Lambda function in Python. In Python, Lambda functions are defined using the Lambda keyword and followed by parameters the function will take separated by commas. After the parameters, we write a colon followed by the expression that the function will return. For example, I have a function, Lambda function here. Lambda is a keyword, x is the input argument, colon, and for example 2 times x. So you can see that this is a object function, and I can apply this function in this way, put this function in parentheses and apply it, for example, on 3 in the parentheses, and the output is 6, and it means that x is the input argument, and we replace x by 3 in 2 times x, and this is the output. So now we have defined a Lambda function. We can call it by a name and for reusing it later. But the whole purpose of the Lambda function was to use its Lambda function for anonymous function. But we could call this function f lambda x 2 times x. Then we could apply f on 4. The result is 8. Lambda function can also take more than one argument. For example, lambda x comma y are the input arguments, colon, and then x times y. And I can, for applying this function on input argument, because I have a tuple as an argument, x and y, the input argument should be a tuple, for example 2 and 3, and the output is 2 times 3. Lambda function can also be used in conjunction with other Python functions, such as map function or other function like filter and reduce. The map function takes a function and an iterable and returns a new iterable with a function applied to each item in the original iterable. For example, I can use map function to map function like lambda x dot 2 times x on the list 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the result is a map object. To see the result, I need to apply list method on this, and I can see that the result is another iterable that is the application of the function x lambda x 2 times x on the list 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first element is multiplied by 2, which is 4. The second is multiplied by 2 is 6. 4 multiplied by 2 is 8. 5 multiplied by 2 is 10. And 6 multiplied by 2 is 12. Also, we could use filter function, which is a little different from map function. The filter function takes a function and an iterable like map function as input and returns a new iterable with the elements for which the function returns true. For example, we could have a lambda function with boolean output. For example, lambda. When I talk about boolean output, I mean variables with true or false value. For example, I have a function x lambda x, and the output is x divided by 2, remaining is 0, and when I use this equal notation, this says that if I divide x by 2 and the remaining is 0, then this expression is true, otherwise it's false. And if I apply this on 4, I can see that the result is true. If I apply it in 5, the result is false. So, for example, on 6, the result again is true. So, this is a function that returns true on x if the input argument is an even number, and returns false if the input argument is odd number. So we could use filter function method for filtering a list based on this function. So for example, I can use filter and I can apply this function lambda x divided by 2 equal to 0 on the list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8. So the output again is like a map is a filter object, but I can use list to have another iterable. And in this example, we apply lambda x divided by 2 remaining equal to 0 on each element of the list, and it won't return true or false. It returns those elements that the output is true. So it returns even number in the list. So we filter out the even number in the list by this filter function. But if we use map for this example, let me copy and paste this here, and instead of filter I can use map. It returns another iterable, which the length of the new iterable is equal to the length of original iterable, and the result is boolean, true, false, true, false. And you can see that this is just a list that for even number it returns true, and for odd numbers return false. But filter just select those values that are true. So it is this kind of function are very important for data processing in Python. For example, in data science, you can use this function for filtering the data and do pre-processing. In this episode, we have covered some basic concept of Python lambda function, including defining lambda function using them in conjunction with other Python functions such as map and filters, and creating a small one-off function. In future episodes, we'll explore more advanced concepts such as sorting and grouping, again with other tools in Python, and also use lambda function in object-oriented programming. Thanks for watching.